Hello friends, in this video we are going to discuss the different functions present inside the string class. Okay, so we'll cover all these functions in this video, and in the next video I'll be covering the remaining functions. So let's start with the first function, the trim function. Okay, so if you look at the prototype is we don't have to provide any parameters to it, and it returns me a string. So let's create a string s1 and let's store some string in it. Okay, let's say apple is good for health. So here in this string you can see that I've got a few spaces. Okay, I've got a few spaces before the first character, and I've got a few spaces after the last character in the string. So what the trim function will do is that it will remove all the leading spaces and also all the trailing spaces. So this is what the trim function will do. So let's have a look. Let's create another string s2. Okay, and we will call the trim function just like any other function. Okay, so when we need to call an object's method, we have to write the object name dot method name. So here I'll write object name is s1. Okay, and dot method name, the method name is trim, so s1 dot trim. So when I call the trim function using s1 object, so in the string all the leading and trailing spaces will be removed. So let's print the value of s2 and see what is the output. So here you can see that the leading and trailing spaces have been removed. Okay, to make a clear distinction, let's print the values, the value of s1 also. So here clearly you can see the s1 is containing spaces, but s2 has got no space. So I hope you have understood the working of the trim function. Now remember that the trim function does not remove the spaces in between the words. Okay, so let's see the next function. The next function is 2 lowercase. Okay, and we'll also see 2 uppercase. So let's put some string in s1. Okay, so you can see here in S1 I have got a mixture of uppercase and lowercase characters. Now if I apply S1 dot lowercase, okay, S1 dot to lowercase, so all the characters inside S1 will be converted to lowercase. Let's have a look at the output. So as you can see, all the characters have been converted to lowercase. Now let's see uppercase also, to uppercase. Okay, so this time I am calling the to uppercase function, and let's see the output. The output is, you can see that all the characters in the S1 string have been converted into uppercase. Let's see the next function. The next function is length function. So from this prototype you can see that it returns an integer value, okay, and it takes 0 parameters, no parameters. So let's see the use of length function. Okay, so let's say S1 dot length. So this length function will give me an integer value representing the number of characters in the string S1. Okay, so let's compile this and see the output. So the output is 24. So we have got 24 characters in the string S1. Okay, now let's see the next function. So char_at. Okay, this char_at function, it requires a parameter. Okay, here you can see it requires an integer parameter and it gives me a character value. Okay, it returns me a char type of value. So this value that will provide us parameter is the index from which we want to extract the character. Okay, so let's go to BlueJ and see the use of char_at. Okay, so let's write char_at here, and inside the parenthesis we have to provide an integer parameter, right? We saw in the syntax in the prototype of the function. So let's say this one is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's write the index 4. If I write the index 4 here and see the output should be the letter E, the character E. Okay, so here you can see in the output that we are getting E. Let's write 5. Let's give 5 as the parameter. So 5 is a space. So we should get a space. Okay, so the space is not visible here, but it's giving me the space character. It's returning me the space character at index 5. Okay, similarly let's give 7 here. So 7 should give me an S. Okay, so you can see the output is S. Okay, now let's see the next function. The next function is index of. Okay, index of requires a character parameter. Okay, we need to give a character value to it as parameter and it will return me an integer. So this index of function gives me the first occurrence of the value that we give to ch. Okay, so whatever parameter we give whatever parameter is given to index f, the character, it will give me the first occurrence of that particular character. So for example, let's call here index of. Okay, index of let's say P. Okay, capital P. So when I give capital P as the parameter to index of function, it should give me 0, 1. The first occurrence of the capital letter P is at index 1. So it should give me 1. So here you can see the output is 1. Now let me write small p. Okay, small p is not there. Small p is not there in the string S1. So this time the output will be -1. Okay, a negative number. So when the character is not present, when the character that we have provided as parameter to the function index of is not present in the string, then it will return me -1. Okay, and if it is present, it will give me the first occurrence of that string. Similarly, the next function is last index of. Okay, so index of gives me the first occurrence of the character that is given here as parameter. Now let's say I provide capital P as the parameter to last index of. Okay, so last I is capital, last index of, O is also capital. So let's compile this and see what will be the answer. The answer should be 0, 1, 2. The last occurrence of this character P in this string is here at index 2. So I should get 2. So as you can see, the answer is 2. Okay. Similarly, okay, let's see the next function. The next function is concat. Okay. So this concat function, it requires one string as a parameter, okay, and returns me a string. So let's have a look at this. So let's create two strings here. Okay, so if I want to concatenate the strings stored in S1 and S2, I can do it like this. S1, okay, S1 dot concat, okay, S1 dot concat in the parameter it requires a string, so I'll pass S2. Okay, so the output of this will be apple mango. So here you can see that both the strings have been concatenated. Okay. Now if I write S2 dot concat S1, okay, so this time I should get mango apple. So here you can see the output is mango apple. Last time it was apple mango. Okay, so this is how you will do the concatenation using the concat function. Now the next one is equals. Okay, so let's have a look at the equals function. And why do we need the equals function? Let's say I create two strings S1 and S2, okay, and in both I will assign apple. Okay. So what will happen here is we know that strings are objects, right? Strings are objects. So when we create a string object, okay, the compiler first of all checks, okay, or rather the JVM first of all checks whether the object is already available in the memory or not. Okay. So for example, when this line is executed, an object is created, it is storing apple and the address is stored in S1. Okay. Now when this line gets executed, so the JVM first of all will check whether we have this same string available in the memory or not. If it is already available in the memory, okay, a new object is not created. What happens is that this S2 reference variable will also point to the same object. Okay. So when we try to check the values like this, whether they are equal or not, S1 equals S2, okay, this is how you would normally check. This is how you normally check whether both the values are equal or not for primitive types, isn't it? So if I have got int x is equal to 5 and int y is equal to 5, then I can check both the values whether they are equal or not. So this is fine. This is fine for primitive types. Okay, the values are compared. Here the value of x is 5, the value of y is also 5. So both the values are compared and will get the result as per the value. So in this case it will be true in this case. Now if we talk about S1 and S2, this S1 and S2 are reference variables. Reference variables, they do not store address, they do not store values. Okay. So this S1 and S2 are storing addresses. So when I compare S1 is equal to S2, that means it's comparing the addresses of both. So of course S1 and S2 will have the same address because they are pointing to the same object. So if the address of this string object is 1001, that means S1 is storing 1001 and S2 is also storing 1001. So here the comparison, you can imagine it's happening like this: 1001 is equal to 1001. So both the addresses are same. So it's comparing the address, it's not comparing the string. Okay. So for comparing strings, to find out whether they are equal or not, they are same or not, okay, we must use the function known as equals. Okay. So let's see the output of this first. Okay. So the output of this I'll get as true only, because both S1 and S2 are referring to the same string object. So let's see the output here. The output is true. Okay. Now if I change the value of S2 to something else, that means this string is a new string. Okay. S2 is referring to a different object now. Okay, and so the S1, the address which is stored in S1 and the address which is stored in S2, they will not be the same. So this time I will get the answer as false, as you can see. Okay, so to really check the value of S1 and S2, I must use the equals function. So S1 dot equals, and equals take one string parameter, so I am providing S2. Okay. So let's check the value now of the output of this. It will return me true or false. So as you can see, the answer is false. Now let's write apple here. This time you can see the answer is true, but you might still be confused between the equal to operator and the equals function. Okay, so let me make it clear to you by using another example. Instead of creating the string like this, okay, let's create the string through explicit method that we discussed in video 1. Okay, so here I am creating the string using explicit method. So this time the JVM will not check whether this apple string is already there in the memory or not. Okay, it will not check, it will create a new object apple. Okay, and then when I create the second string object, okay, using the explicit method, and I provide the same string here. Okay, so this time JVM will not do this, it will not do this. Okay, this time JVM will create two different objects. Okay, it will create two different objects. So this one is storing apple, and the other object is also storing apple. The address of this one is stored in S1, okay, and the address of this one is stored in S2. So both S1 and S2 are storing different addresses. Okay, now if I apply the equal to operator here, okay, equal to operator, what do you think the answer will be? Last time this was giving me true. Okay, last time this was giving me true when both S1 and S2 had apple. Okay, so this time if you see, the answer will not be true, this time it will be false, as you can see. Okay, so this makes it clear that this equal to operator checks the value, the address that is stored in the strings. Okay, that is why we should always use dot equals if you want to check the values. So this time when I use dot equals, S1 dot equals S2, okay, the output will be true because both are storing the string apple. So here you can see the values are true, the values are same, apple, so it's giving me true. Okay, and one more thing, if let's say if I make this A capital in string S2, okay, this time the answer will be false because for equals both the strings must be exactly same, that is the case also should match. Okay, so it is case sensitive, so here we'll get the answer as false. Now if you want to ignore the case, for that we have another function, and that function is equals ignore case. So it also takes a string as input through parameter and returns a boolean value. Now students, remember that you should remember the return type of all these functions, it might be asked in the exam. So let's see the example of equals ignore case. Okay, so equals ignore case. So earlier this was giving me, equals was giving me false. Now let's see what this equals ignores case gives me. So here you can see it is giving me true. So I hope you have understood whatever functions that we have discussed in video, and I'll explain the remaining functions in the next video. Thank you.